So the biggest myth on the KTM TPI models, it's using like less fuel than the carb bike. And from my experience, that is the not true story. I made about more than 400 hours on KTM bikes, and I did a lot of the testing with the comparison with the keihin bikes, so I'm going to tell you my story. So the KTM TPI is using like TPI system, it's transfer port injection. What is going to mean when you flip the bike, it's not going to split the fuel from the carb. That is really important because it's just using the fuel and not splitting out on the bottom. So if you ride the KTM TPI on like low end, it's using less fuel than the carb bike, but the problem starts when you start to push the bike going in high revs. It's going to use like more fuel than the carb bikes. I know that from the experience. If you do like mixed riding, like slow terrain and then the faster stuff, it's going to use the same fuel like the carb bikes, but the difference is if you like crashing often, riding really steep uphills and downhills, the carb bike is going to split some fuel from the like keihin carb or the Mikuni carb, and that makes the difference at the end of the day. So, but it's not really the big difference. If you do like extreme enduro for like full day, at the end of the day it's going to be like difference half liter of the fuel. So the KTM TPI is not using less fuel, it's just not splitting the fuel on the ground. So the second myth on the KTM TPI models, you need to use some premix in the fuel tank. So from my experience, it's just wasting of the two-stroke oil. When you add the like premix to the fuel tank, it's going just to go on the top of the piston, and maybe it's going to help to lube the piston rings, but it's also making some like problems adding like carbon to the top of the piston. Also, it's not lubing the crankshaft bearings and connecting rod, so it's not making any sense adding like premix to the TPI bike, because the TPI bike is using like special tank for the two-stroke oil and special pump. That pump is really enough to lube the crankshaft bearings and everything, so if you add just like premix going to just smoke and burn only, it's not going to help you to make the bearings on the crankshaft last longer. Also, I know some guys are selling like different fuel filters and that stuff, hoses, like improving like lubrications of the bearings, and trust me guys, that is not sense. I'm not going to tell you don't buy that products. Also, on the like first models on the KTM TPIs, the mapping was not so good. It added like small amounts of oil, and that made like failing the crankshaft bearings on some KTM TPI bikes, also the piston problems, but with the latest mapping the KTM fixed that problem because it's adding like more fuel and more oil in these bikes now. KTM TPI is running lean. So the KTM TPI is transfer port injection bike, and it's really different than the carb bikes. The throttle response is different, and engine also is working on different temperatures, so it's making like really different feel of the engine. in the car bikes, when you like open the throttle, the engine is going to suck in the air and the fuel mixed with the two-stroke oil like the Premix. On the KTM TPI it's really different, so when you open the throttle, the ECU is going to tell what to do, so how much fuel to add. On the KTM TPIs you lose the natural feeling of the throttle response, so that is really different. It's like simulated throttle response. That also the feeling what the real wheel is doing on the ground, it's not that easy like on the car bikes. You lose that feeling, but after like some time you get used to that, so it's not that big problem. Also the KTM TPI engine is working really more hot than the car bikes, so at the end of the case is the KTM TPI running really lean. It's not. I think it's in the perfect like range. Maybe for the extreme enduro it's better to have like more rich engine, because it's adding like then the like improvement in finding the grip, because the KTM TPI is getting easy in the RPM. When it's getting like to the slippery stuff, then the carb is like 40% more easy to ride in like slippery stuff, because it's really easy to find the grip. And on the KTM bike, the TPI version, the wheel is just like spinning around. On older like KTM models with the carb like keihin, the factory was sending you like 3 different springs for the power valve. So you had like green for like more easy power, and then the yellow was the stock one, and the red one was the like aggressive style. So it was really made for the like MX tracks, and the green was like for the slippery forest stuff. So from my experience on the like carb bikes on the KTM, the springs made like really big difference. Also I tested the same for the KTM bikes, and I didn't feel any like improvement. So when I got the green spring, I find like small improvement in the bottom end power. I lost like some mid to the top, so I lose the smooth power on the bike. It made bike to behave like really strange. So I went to the reed, I lost the bottom end, and the bike was not working really nice on the bottom. Smooth power was really good. So I went back to the yellow spring, and the bike was running then again the perfect. So I also tested to adjust the screw, and you can make like small improvements, but it's not really big difference like on the car bike. On the car bikes you can like change that settings and everything is going to work almost perfect, really easy. I think the biggest improvement in the power like delivery is the different mapping. With the different mapping you can also then get like different spring what is made for that mapping. I know you can also buy some products like screws with the hand what you can adjust in the forest, and guys are selling that, saying that is really working for the KTM TPI bikes, but I think that is not the true. On the car bikes it's working really perfect, but on KTM bike I don't suggest that. So guys, thank you very much for watching this video to the end, and please comment what you think about adding like Premix in the TPI bikes.